Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video we are going to be setting up our UI and making it where we can give our players some score as well as multiply that score when we hit a certain number of enemies killed. So let's start off by actually making a canvas and getting our UI elements in place, and then we'll go into the coding. So I'm going to right click in my hierarchy, go create a UI canvas. I'm going to call this my UI canvas right there, and then I'm just going to start adding some UI text to that. I'm going to do each of these in two parts. I'm going to have a label and then the actual number that's going to display the value. So we'll start off with our score. So we'll have a score label. I'm going to put this one's going to go in the top left hand corner, and so I'm going to use my anchor presets button here, put it in the top left hand corner. Also I need to head back to that UI canvas. And for the render mode for the canvas, I want to set that to a screen space camera and tell it to be the render camera to be my main camera just by dragging that in there. That's going to make life a little bit easier. We'll be able to see it here in the scene view here. And so then I can actually see my score label over here. In that text input, I will tell it that I want to see my score. Because I neglected to say anything, if this is the first time that you've imported a TextMesh Pro game object, import the essentials and the extras if that pop-up comes up for you. Just real quick overview, I created my score label text, used the anchor presets button to put it in the top left-hand corner, changed my score. I'm actually going to move it away from the corner a little bit, maybe by like 10. I'll use my position X to 10 and my position Y to minus 10. Just to bump it down and away from that corner so it's not right in the corner there. For my font size, make sure you can see it. I'm going to change my font, all this kind of good stuff. Make sure that you can have it look good. I'm going to use this electronic highway just so it seems kind of retro. I can bump up my size a little bit right there, maybe to 50. If you need to adjust the size of that box that it's in, you can use the width and the height here at the top. So I want to keep that pretty simple. I'm going to duplicate this. This will then be my actual score text. Let me rename that. I'm just going to put XX there as the input. I'm going to move my position Y down some, so maybe like to -60. That looks pretty good. And then I want to center that value. And then I can take both of those, duplicate them. I'm going to rearrange this a little bit so I have my score, and then I'll have my lives next. This will be my lives label. This will be my lives text. I'm going to take both of these and use that anchor presets to put them in the top right hand corner. That doesn't mean I need to move my lives text down again, so to -50, that position X to -10 this time to get it away from that corner, and same thing for my label. There we go. And then finally I will duplicate this one more time. This will be my score multiplier label. Label and score multiplier text. These two will be in the center. I'll bring them both down on the Y. I'm not going to change their X. I do want them to be in the center. The text needs to come down to -60, and those are all centered there. That should be good. Oh, and instead of lives, let's call this or multiplier. This one I will have to increase the width on significantly, and let's center that text there as well. Alright, so now that I have the UI elements, I can go and set up the variables that will assign the text to those text inputs. I'm going to do that in the game manager. I'm going to open that guy up, head back up to the top. There's a whole bunch of variables to put in here. I'm going to start with a header. I'm going to use square brackets and the keyword header. This will allow us to organize our inspector a whole lot better. I'm going to give it the label of player stats. All these are going to be public integers. Public int of our lives. To make this faster, I'm going to highlight and copy the public int part so I can just paste it in. Have one for score. Have one for enemies killed. Have one for my score multiplier. And then the kills per multiply. Now, a much faster way to do this would be to just say, hey, have set up a public integer of lives, and then you can use commas and list out all of the variables that you want. But I'm just going to do this the old-fashioned way and to give each variable its own line. Additionally, I'm going to set up another header for my UI. And these are going to be all of the TextMesh Pro objects. So, because I need to do that, I need to use TextMesh Pro. I need to come up and add that library on line 2. And then I can make public text mesh pros for my lives text. And I'm going to do that same thing. There's only 3 of these, but I still want to save a little bit of time. One for my score text. And for my score multiplier text. Okay, just a heads up on these. Normally, when you use TextMesh Pro objects in a canvas, it has to be a TextMesh Pro UGUI data type instead of just regular TextMesh Pro. But when I was trying it on my test version of this game before making the video, that wasn't working. So we're going to find out here in a second if this is going to work. So I will save my script and head back over to Unity. And let's see if we can assign these text variables here. I'll take my score text, put it in score text, and now it's doing the opposite for me. So let's head back. It needs to be that UGUI. So I'm not sure what I did differently on my other version of this. Yeah, there we go. So those UI elements are public TextMesh Pro UGUI and then the names. So let's save that and try this again. All right, so score text goes into score text. Same thing with lives text and the score multiplier text. Also, while we're here, let's set up the player stats. Let's give our player some lives. It needs to be at least 1. He's not going to have a score. He's not going to have enemies killed. Let's set the score multiplier to 1 to start out with. And that kills per multiply, let's do 5. So we'll start to multiply the score once we reach 5 kills. And then we'll save that in our Unity, head back over to our script. Let's start writing some methods to update those text objects. So I want to be able to do this individually for each single one, and then I can make another method that calls all 3 of them together. So lots of methods to write here. So first I'm going to make one just called UI update, and I'll come back and fill that in later. Let's have another. I have my first one. It's going to be public because I want to be able to call these from somewhere else potentially. So a public void of just UI lives. And we're just going to set our lives text dot text equal to our lives dot toString. So we just want to throw that number in there. ToString is a method, so it needs parentheses. And then I'm going to copy and paste this for my UI score. And that's going to be the score text equals our score to string. We paste again, and this will be the score multiplier. And we'll swap out these variable names. Alright, so UI lives updates the lives text to the amount of lives we have. The UI score updates the score text to the score that we have. And the score multiplier updates the score multiplier text to our score multiplier. Inside of UI update, I want to call all three of those. So I'll call UI lives. I'll call UI score. And I'll call UI score multiplier. And then in start, I can call UI update so that when we start our game, let's create the start method. When we start the game, all three of those will update right at the beginning. Before we move on, let's also make a public void to add to our score. We're going to give this a argument of an integer, which is the score to add. And we'll just say that, hey, our score plus equals the score to add. Then we're going to multiply by our score multiplier. And then we can update our UI score when that happens. Alright, so now let's go to our other places where we want to call these methods. Mainly like our enemy script. So our enemies, that's how we're going to be getting our points. So our enemy needs to have an integer of the score they're going to give. And I'll set this equal to something like 10. And then when we actually kill them, we're going to do a couple things here. There's a whole lot actually. So one, let's make just a little note for a to-do that in the real game, when you shoot an enemy, they drop like a little score pickup. But we're going to just directly do this. So later we'll make a score pickup that has to be collected to add to score. But we can say, all right, when they die, let's call the game manager .instance, and we'll call that add score method, and we'll give it the score of the enemy. We'll also increase the number of enemies killed. So we'll say enemies killed plus plus. That adds 1 to that. Also here, another little note that we want to spawn some death particles once they die. Alright, and now let's go test it out. We've done a whole lot right there. Let's go see what we can do. Our enemies now have a score value. You could individually change that if you wanted to. If you wanted to make one more than the other or less than the other, we can individually do that. And let's see what happens. So when I start my game, there we go. My score, I've got 3 lives, I have a score multiplier, and I have 0 score. Here they come at me. And so when I'm shooting them, I am getting my points here. But that score multiplier is not going up. So let's take care of that. All right, so let's open up our game manager script. And inside of there, we need to set up one more variable here. It's going to be, it can be public, it can be private. I'm making it public. It's an integer called kill ratio. And then I want to make a method that gets called whenever an enemy dies. So this needs to be public. I'm going to call it from my enemy script. And we'll just call this enemy died. And inside of here, we're going to check if our kill ratio is bigger than our score multiplier. And if it is, then we will increase our score multiplier. So I'm going to do a little math here. I was playing with this. My first draft ended up making my score multiplier go up way too quick. And so I had to tone it down a little bit. So I'm setting kill ratio equal to my enemies killed divided by the kills per multiply times my score multiplier. And then, if, like I said, if that kill ratio is greater than my score multiplier, then we'll do some stuff down here. First we'll set the score multiplier equal to the kill ratio. And then we can run the UI score multiplier to update that text. And then in the next video, a little bit of a to-do, we will increase the enemy spawn rate. So we'll save that. Let's come over to the enemy script. And then when they die, we're not only adding score, we're adding the enemies killed. We're also going to call that enemy died method. And so let's go test that out. All right, so with my game manager selected, I can go ahead and test this. The one thing about this code that might be a little confusing is that the way the math is set up, we're saying that, hey, we have a number of kills per multiply, and then you would expect that, oh, if I get 5 kills, then my score multiplier should go up. So I'm at 7. My score multiplier is still at 1. I have 5 kills per multiply. But now my kill ratio is now at 1. So the non-intuitive part is that I have to get 10 kills, double my multiplier, double my kills per multiply before I get to that second multiplier. So if I kill 3 more guys here, then I should get to a score of 2. So there we go. I'm at 10 kills. I'm at 11 kills. I am now at a multiplier of 2. And now it should take me another 10 kills before I get another multiplier. So I'm at 18. Maybe it's more. There we go. So I went from needing 10 kills to get the ratio of 2, and then even more kills. I'm not exactly sure on the math. I haven't figured out that exact ratio off the top of my head yet. But I did want to slow down my... I wanted to have way more kills to get to the next multiplier. In that multiplying there by... Oh, it's down here. This guy. So kind of on my first draft of this, I just had enemies, a straight ratio. Enemies killed divided by kills per multiply. And then you increase that up. But as you get more and more guys, more and more bad guys in your scene, it becomes really quick to increasing your multiplier ridiculously fast. And in the next steps, where I want to increase the enemy spawning as the score multiplier goes up, if that score multiplier basically goes exponential, then the number of enemies in the scene goes exponential, and I actually had Unity like completely crash because I had too many bad guys in the scene. So I needed to slow down the increase rate of the score multiplier, and this does a pretty good job. So in that next video, we need to refactor some stuff, but we're going to make it so that our enemy spawners, the enemy manager, starts creating bad guys faster as we do better at the game. So I will see you then.